All right, so get ready because today we're going to do a deep dive into a story all about trust.
Trust.
But not like the regular run-of-the-mill trust we usually think about.
Right.
This is about the kind of trust that just makes you question everything you think you know.
Yeah.
It just seems illogical.
Yeah, it's so interesting how this text, Num 13, uses the story from the Bible
Right.
to show how powerful faith can be, especially when things just don't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like how can you trust when everything is telling you danger, danger?
Exactly.
You know, we're going to kind of unpack some of the key takeaways from this text.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll walk away with a totally fresh perspective of what it means to have faith.
The story focuses on the Israelites,
Okay.
a people who were chosen by God, led by Moses.
Okay.
Their history is full of miracles and displays of God's power, like the parting of the Red Sea.
So they've seen God in action.
Yeah.
They have this deep connection.
Great connection.
And then things get tricky. God tells Moses to send 12 leaders to scout out Canaan, the Promised Land.
Yes.
Like this incredible land, overflowing with resources and opportunity.
Yeah.
The ultimate reward for their years of hardship.
But there's a catch.
Ooh.
This land is not empty, it's inhabited by giants.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine the fear that those 12 leaders must have felt?
10 of them at least, right?
Yeah.
They came back totally freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
They were describing themselves as grasshoppers compared to these giants.
Grasshoppers.
Can you almost feel their fear? It's like that moment when you're faced with a challenge
Yes.
that just seems so big, so overwhelming, that you feel totally powerless.
It's a universal experience, that feeling of shrinking in the face of what seems like an insurmountable obstacle.
Yeah, and then you've got these two, Caleb and Joshua.
Yeah.
They just see things completely differently.
Completely differently.
And they come back and they're like, wait a minute, people. We've got God on our side.
Remember the Red Sea?
Remember all the times he's come through.
Yeah.
We can totally take this, giants or no giants.
Yes.
Caleb's speech is so powerful. He's basically saying, let's go for it. God's got our back. It's amazing to see that level of unwavering faith, especially when everyone else is panicking.
It perfectly embodies that idea of walking by faith, not by sight,
Okay.
that the text keeps coming back
Yeah.
to. It's about trusting in something bigger than yourself, even when what you see in front of you tells you to run the other way.
And that's something I think we all struggle with, right? How often do we let fear hold us back from going after what we want, from taking that leap of faith?
Yeah, it's human nature to want to play it safe, stick with what's familiar.
Right.
But this story challenges us to ask, what if we choose faith over fear?
What if we choose faith over fear?
What incredible things might we be able to accomplish if we truly believe in something beyond what we can see and touch?
Sadly, the majority of the Israelites did not listen to Caleb and Joshua. Fear won out, and they ended up rebelling against Moses, against God's plan.
It's God's plan.
Can you believe that?
It's ironic, isn't it? A nation that was known for its unity, for coming together during tough times,
Yeah.
ends up completely divided by fear.
By fear.
And that doubt had some serious consequences.
Yeah.
God was angry. He decided they would wander the desert for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
A year for every day they spent scouting out the land.
Wow.
It's a powerful reminder that our choices have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for those around us.
It makes you think, what if they had chosen to trust? What if they had remembered all the ways that God had provided for them in the past? Would their story have unfolded differently?
It's a question that haunts me even today. But their struggle is something we can all relate to. Think about it.
Okay.
Imagine standing with the Israelites at the Red Sea, watching their enemies swallowed by the water.
Right.
You'd think that would solidify anyone's faith.
That's a miracle you can't just forget.
And then picture them at Mount Sinai, making a covenant with God, pledging their devotion,
This incredible moment of connection.
shared purpose.
But then they get to Canaan.
Yeah,
What happens?
they see giants.
They see giants, and all that faith seems to just evaporate.
Evaporate.
And suddenly they're questioning everything.
And it highlights something really profound about human nature.
Yeah.
Even after witnessing incredible displays of power, even after making deep commitments,
Right.
doubt can still creep in, especially when we're confronted with something that seems impossible.
It really makes you wonder, what does it really mean to truly trust?
Yeah,
To have faith that just defies logic and pushes us beyond our comfort zones.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting how the text reframes this idea of the wilderness.
Okay.
We often think of the wilderness as this place of punishment,
Right.
like emptiness.
Right.
But Num 13 suggests that it's actually a place of transformation.
Okay, I like that. What do you mean by that?
Well, the Israelites spent 40 years wandering in the desert, right?
Right.
But it wasn't just aimlessly wandering, it was a period of intense learning, stripping away their old ways of thinking and developing a deeper dependence on God.
So the wilderness wasn't a place of absence, but a place of encounter.
Exactly. It was a crucible where their faith was tested and refined.
Okay.
And that's such a powerful metaphor for our own lives, isn't it? We all go through these wilderness seasons,
Yeah.
these times of uncertainty, of loss or hardship.
Times when you feel lost and alone, like you're just wandering in circles.
Yes. But what if instead of viewing those times as setbacks, we saw them as opportunities for growth?
Okay.
What if those difficult experiences are actually pushing us towards a deeper understanding of ourselves and our faith?
That's a really interesting perspective shift.
Yeah.
It's like those times when you're kind of forced to confront your deepest fears and insecurities.
And that's where real transformation happens.
Yeah.
It's in those moments of vulnerability when we're stripped bare of our illusions of control that we can truly connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, it reminds me of the author's personal story that they share in the text.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about asking God for gold. And, at first you think literal gold, right?
Right.
But receiving something much greater.
So much greater.
It makes me wonder, what were they really seeking?
Well, the author received a vision,
Oh.
a business plan, this clear sense of purpose and direction. It was provision that went far beyond material wealth.
So it was about trusting that God would provide, but maybe not in the way that they initially expected.
Exactly.
And that makes you think, well, what do we really need when we ask for provision?
It's so easy to get caught up in our own limited ideas of what we need, right?
Right.
We think we need that promotion, that new car, that perfect relationship.
Right.
But maybe what we really need is something deeper,
Yeah.
something that aligns with God's plan for our lives.
Yeah. And maybe those wilderness experiences are actually pushing us towards that deeper purpose,
Pushing us towards that purpose,
even if it doesn't make sense at the time.
even if it doesn't make sense.
But this brings me back to something that's kind of been bugging me.
Okay.
If Caleb and Joshua were so convinced,
Yeah.
why didn't anyone else stand with them? Why did they choose fear over faith, even after everything they'd been through?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The text suggests that fear and pride can really blind us to the truth.
Okay.
We become so focused on our own anxieties, our own perceived limitations,
Yeah.
that we fail to see the possibilities that faith can open up.
So it's not just about seeing, it's about choosing to believe.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what are those giants in our own lives that are holding us back from stepping into our full potential? What fears are we clinging to that are preventing us from experiencing the fullness of God's promises?
Yeah. That's a challenging thought, because it's like we can't always control our circumstances, but we can control how we respond to them.
Absolutely.
We can choose to let fear dictate our actions, or we can choose to step out in faith even when it doesn't make sense.
And that brings us to a crucial point the text makes.
Okay.
It's not just about doing things, it's about doing them in alignment with God's will, seeking his guidance and approval every step of the way. The Israelites were so focused on getting into the Promised Land
Right.
that they forgot about the importance of walking with God on the journey.
So it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey itself and who we become along the way.
Precisely. And who better to guide us on that journey than the one who promised us the destination in the first place?
Right.
The text encourages us to cultivate a strong faith,
Okay.
to trust in God's promises, and to step into his glory.
Okay.
It's like a call to action, an invitation to move beyond fear and doubt and embrace a life of radical trust.
That's a powerful image, stepping into his glory.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like?
Yeah.
What does it mean to live a life that reflects God's glory? Yeah, that's a question I've been wrestling with.
Yeah.
We've been talking about trusting God even when things seem illogical.
Right.
About walking by faith and not by sight. But what does that actually look like in our everyday lives?
Yeah.
How do we step into his glory?
I think it starts with recognizing that God's glory isn't always about these flashy displays of power or outward success.
Okay.
You know, it's about reflecting his character, his love, his grace in everything we do.
So it's not about achieving some grand Instagram-worthy moment,
Right.
but it's about the small, everyday choices we make.
Exactly. It's about choosing kindness over judgment, forgiveness over bitterness, generosity over greed.
Okay.
It's about living a life that points others toward the goodness and beauty of God, even in the midst of this messy, broken world.
That makes a lot of sense, but I can't help but think back to the Israelites.
Yeah,
They literally saw the Red Sea part.
right.
They experienced miracles firsthand.
Yeah.
Yet they still struggled with doubt and fear.
They did.
What does that tell us about the nature of faith?
It's a reminder that faith isn't about this absence of doubt.
Right.
It's about choosing to trust God even when we have questions, even when we don't understand. It's about acknowledging our own human limitations
Okay.
and recognizing that God's ways are often higher than our own.
So it's not about pretending that everything is perfect or that we have all the answers.
Right.
It's about embracing the mystery, the unknown,
Absolutely.
and trusting that God is working even when we can't see it.
Absolutely. And that's where the author's advice to their friend really resonates with me. Cultivate a strong faith. It's an active process, a daily practice of choosing to believe,
Okay.
of aligning our thoughts and actions with God's truth.
It's like building a muscle, right? The more we exercise our faith, the stronger it becomes.
Exactly.
And that strength enables us to face those giants in our lives. They're challenges that would otherwise paralyze us with fear.
And the beautiful thing is, we don't have to do it alone.
Right.
We have the Holy Spirit to guide us, to comfort us, to empower us.
Right.
We have the support of other believers, people who've walked this path before us,
Right.
and can offer wisdom and encouragement.
It's like we're all on this journey together,
We are.
supporting each other as we navigate the ups and downs, the doubts and the victories.
That's right. And that brings us back to this idea of stepping into God's glory.
Okay.
It's not a one-time event.
Okay.
It's this lifelong process of becoming more and more like Christ,
Right.
of allowing his light to shine through us,
Yeah.
of reflecting his love and grace in everything we do.
So it's about embracing who we are in Christ,
Yes.
recognizing our inherent worth and value,
Absolutely.
and stepping into the fullness of the life that He has planned for us.
Yes. And letting go of our fears,
Yeah.
our insecurities, our need to control everything, and trusting that God's plan is always better, even when it doesn't make sense to us.
It's a powerful reminder that true fulfillment comes from aligning ourselves with God's will, from surrendering our own limited perspectives,
Right.
and embracing His boundless love and grace.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Num 13,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this final thought.
Yeah.
What if the giants in your life, those seemingly insurmountable obstacles, are actually invitations to experience God's glory in a deeper, more profound way? What if, by choosing faith over fear, you unlock blessings and breakthroughs you never even thought possible?
What a beautiful challenge.
It is.
It's like those giants are actually opportunities in disguise,
Yeah.
pushing us towards a greater dependence on God
Yeah.
and a deeper experience of His power and grace.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. God is with you every step of the way, guiding you, strengthening you, and leading you toward the fullness of his glory.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of faith.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've been inspired to embrace the wilderness experiences in your own life, to choose trust over fear, and to step boldly into the fullness of God's glory.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep